All right. Welcome to War Media Bears Recap. I am Saul Rodriguez. I am joined by my war colleagues, Joe Tanksley and Ryan Bukovetsky, who you saw on Bears pre and post game all season long. I'm also joined by Ken Davis as well, who you can see on that Davis show and also on the NBC Sports Chicago Under Center podcast. So, guys, it's official. We're on here for it's a special edition of the War Media Bears Recap because the Bears have traded their first overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. And in return, they get the 9th pick, the 61st pick in this year's draft, a first round pick in 2024, and a second round pick in 2025, as well as wide receiver DJ Moore. So I want to, first of all, how you guys doing?
I'm well. Nice to see you all, you gentlemen. Always a blessing. I hope you all have a great weekend and be safe. Look, I usually don't do the Twitter too much, but yesterday I was like, forget it. I'm gonna go out there because I'm gonna go out and say that I wanted more, right? And people were just blasting me, which was fun. Like, DJ Moore's not enough, and I'm like, I really don't know DJ Moore like that, to be honest with you. I don't watch terrible Carolina Panthers football, and I think the Bears did good. I have had a little time to think about it. I still wonder what could have been. I do think a lot of times too, because this is our squad, we want everything to be right and perfect. And I cheer and root for Ryan Poles, but he still is a young general manager. And I wonder, could he have gotten perhaps the Colts to come up and still gotten another team to come up again and gotten a package so much larger than this? But then it hinges on the DJ Moore aspect. And the chances of them getting a top flight wide receiver would have perhaps been limited in this fashion by using this draft asset. So that makes me go back and say this was a good thing because you took care of something that it was a question, where you're going to be able to take care of it. Where you're going to have to go with a rookie, not to say they still won't draft a rookie quarterback, wide receiver high, and Jack and Smith and Jigba. I don't know if they'll do that, especially just at that part at 9, if you should go receiver again and go so heavy when you still need work in the trenches. But still, I think it was a good move because, and I say it hinges on the fact you almost got 2 ones with that second round pick, but you got DJ Moore, and DJ Moore's catch radius being vast and his agility being crazy. Again, I just have to see how DJ Moore operates. If DJ Moore can do what he did in Carolina and probably bring in 7 touchdowns or more, you did probably a pretty good job, because that would probably open up the offense a lot for your other pass catchers. But still, I won't just go all blanket and be like, this was the best, you all, because I don't know that. And I think it would be interesting to see who moves up for quarterbacks, and then to kind of envision what maybe could have happened if the Bears would have held on to that pick a little while longer, to see if they could have enticed and enriched the haul that they brought in for the first overall pick in upcoming draft.
Well, I think initially I was excited about the trade, and like Ken, I do wonder what could have happened, if they would have waited a little bit longer, closer to the draft. But you get a proven asset in DJ Moore, and I think with the free agent class being so trash at wide receiver this year, I think Ryan Poles being able to address that, with this trade, helps out Justin Field and the team tremendously. They would not have been able to sign a free agent, wide receiver of DJ Moore's caliber this year. And then also, you got the aspect of the cap space that they have. They have the ability to, to pay him, and it's not such a big hit for them. I do wonder, because, when we first, heard about the Peter King article and interview, he said that he could get, a first in 24 and a first in 25. So I wonder, was it a choice between DJ Moore or the first round pick in 25? So I'm just trying to figure out, how this all came together.
That's what
I guess
told,
we'll find
Joe.
out more later.
That's what we've been told.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay.
It was to take the second and to get DJ Moore.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I think, all in all, I'm pleased with the trade. I'm still pleased with it.
And you, Ryan, how's it going? And what did you think about the trade?
Going good. I think, Ken, you kind of had my reaction. Like, the first brush, I was like, is that enough? And then kind of like looking at it, I think it's enough, but I'm still with you. it's so early out. This is the first time in ever, or was it the Jared Goff, the first round pick, where
It's
it's
been like
gone this
20
early before
years,
the draft?
like
Yeah,
87
it's
or
been a
something.
long time. And I thought when the combine went down, there was a lot of intrigue was going to grow with these quarterbacks before their own pro days, before all the myths and all the smoke. And I do wonder if maybe they could have gotten more or done maybe more of a double trade down and stay in the top 10 type thing. But overall, the big goal that I had, or that I thought that they should have for this off season, is you got to be Justin Fields centric. You got to get him something to throw to. You got to get multiple targets. You cannot rely on Chase Claypool when he's been super inconsistent, and you're just hoping that you can develop him into something consistent and an actual threat all the time. And then on top of it, too, you need to make sure you fix your trenches, especially on the offensive line. But obviously, you want to grow this defense. But regardless of that, I think you needed to make sure you did the opposite of what you did a year ago, where you stripped everything down. Justin Fields had nothing around him. This had to be this year where you're putting everything around him. If you have to short anything, it's going to be the defense, because you got to make sure he has everything he needs to succeed and continue this rebuild with the defense at the last phase.
Yeah, no, and then people were talking about, yeah, and like you were saying that if they could have gotten more and all that, and a lot of people were also saying like they should have waited a little longer, but I think that what everybody's been saying is probably because of like free agency, the way they're gonna, the way free agency is gonna shape out to be for the Bears. That's why they were able to do this deal, or why they made this deal earlier than a lot of people think they should have done it. But for you guys overall, do you guys, or what do you guys see them doing at 9 now? Like, is there any particular prospects that you think are gonna, fall to them or whatever? I mean, look at the whole Jalen Carter thing. Who knows where he's gonna fall, if he even, what his situation is in general. But we'll start with you, Joe. Anyone in particular at 9 that you think they're gonna do, or with other picks, not just 9, like in general with the draft coming up and the picks they got.
Well, here's the thing. At 9, it puts them in a different position because there's, a bunch of different players that they could, could draft at 9. If there's a run at quarterback, I don't know if Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson is going to be available. They might be off the board before 9. If Jalen Carter, falls to 9, I'd be willing to take him at 9. But my view is, like, I don't want not the Bulls, but the Bears to be in a situation where they're drafting. I know they need help, in the trenches, but I don't want them to be, in a position where they're reaching on a player and drafting them out of position. When it's a good player on the board like Witherspoon from Illinois. So I've been telling people, don't be surprised if they draft a corner. A corner is a premium position, and he's arguably the best corner in a deep draft for corner. So if he's available at 9, I might be inclined to take him. If Carter's at 9, I definitely think that's a must take. But if he's not there, I don't have a problem with them drafting the corner at 9.
I don't want them to draft the corner at 9. And I know this is a deep corner, but also it's partially because of this. This is a deep corner draft, and watching the combine, some of the guys. I mean, listen, some of those guys just in general. When you look at Gonzalez and they got the Michigan kid, some of those guys just popped. I'm telling you, the big guys too. But those nickels was flying, and I'm always. I think it's cool that Kyler Gordon can play the nickel, but I'd be more interested in seeing him play the outside for majority of the time, and then allow him to have the versatility to come inside or perhaps follow someone that plays like that. You know what I'm saying? If you wanted him to shadow somebody and have just a real nickel, since he's a little large. It's nice that he's larger than most nickels, but just still, I think you have a guy that can do that, and then you can just throw a nickel in there so you don't have to spend that number 9th pick. And I think also it would be different if they didn't do such a good job with the secondary and Eddie Jackson didn't come back last year. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think they need to, at the top of it, if they're going to stay at 9, they need to go offensive lineman, really defensive end if Jalen Carter's gone. You know what I'm saying? Because there's really no DT, I feel like, is valuable that high in the first round. You know what I'm saying? I think then we're talking more second round for the Clancy's out of Pitt. And, I'm not with Brisset. I know coming out of high school, he's number one, but you look at the injury history that he's going through at Clemson, and I just don't know if he's going to hold up in the pros. And that's unfortunate, but you have to be honest, especially when you're spending this type of asset and you're at least viewing him as being your engine of the future. So I would probably say if Wilson is there, but I feel like when Anderson goes, people are going to go after Wilson. Nolan Smith will be somebody. I know he doesn't necessarily fit what Matt Eberflus describes as what he likes is tall, being just 6'1". But he would be someone I'd be interested in. I guess Paris Johnson. I don't know with the Northwestern kid if I'm going for a guard because I know his arms aren't as long as Slater, and Slater didn't have long arms. So it's just one of those things where I'm probably looking in the trenches if I'm standing in that spot. And I'm going to go defensive end or I'm going to go offensive lineman to further help Justin. And it all depends on also what you do tomorrow with free agency opening up, which you need to do another show tomorrow too. There's going to be a lot of emergency shows because the Bears are going to sign somebody in the next 3 days, a couple people perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ryan? Is there anyone in particular that you've heard of for 9th, or is there anyone that you want the Bears get, or position at least in general?
I mean, like Ken said, trench warfare. I would love to see them get some guys that can help them out, either getting after the passer or protecting the passer. I do like that receiver, the Ohio State, or is it the USC receiver? I'm blanking on.
And Jigba's Ohio State.
Yeah.
Addison is the USC Pitt guy.
Yes, it's the Ohio State guy. I like him. I don't know if I would go with him at 9, but if they want to go extra weapon, I'm cool with that. I don't know if I go running back. Bijan's probably way too high there, but I want them to consider.
Running back. We need linemen, but running back. Woo,
but I'm telling you, I think if Jalen Carter falls, that's going to be the guy. I think if he's there at 9, they're going to take him.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. Is like hopefully he drops down. Who knows? I mean, his situation is kind of all over the place, so I don't know necessarily what's going to happen there. But no, yeah, and then the last thing before we wrap up for you guys, do you guys think DJ Moore is does he have the ability to be a 1-1 in the league, elite? Right? Do you guys think he could be? Because I know for the Bears coming over, he's going to be sliding into number 1, obviously. But I know a lot of people were looking at it and being like, they weren't really familiar with his game. But as you said, Ken, I don't think anyone's rushing over to flip over to the Carolina Panthers game every week. But he's a guy that has 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He had a career high 7 TDs last year, and over his career, what he's done has been impressive for the quarterbacks that he's had. So, so in general, and we'll start with you, Joe. Do you think he could be a 1-1 in the league?
I think so. I think that, when you look across the league, how many teams really truly have an elite number 1? I think DJ Moore could be in that, maybe in that, that second, tier of number 1 receivers. After you talk about, Jefferson in Minnesota, Diggs and Devontae Adams and Hopkins, I think he's in that second class of number 1 receivers. So I think he has to. He's going to get every opportunity in Chicago to showcase his talent in a bigger market and with a young gun at quarterback. And I think he's going to take hold of the opportunity and improve on his game and prove polls right. I think he can take the next step to Chicago.
I do. I mean, I think he's better than Allen Robinson. They got Allen Robinson. He was decreed the 1. Also, kind of thing doesn't really matter because the big deal with DJ Moore is AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Hopkins with Kyler Murray. Who was the other? DJ.
I thought you were talking about guys that got signed last offseason.
Just basically, like, the idea is that you get that kind of receiver in the 3rd year of the quarterback to accelerate that growth, to get them to become the passer that you're hoping that they'll become as an elite 1 in the league. Justin Fields is a much better quarterback prospect than Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and some of these other guys that you went and got that number 1 receiver. I don't think DJ Moore has to be as great as some of these other guys because Justin Fields is great. I'm kind of like you, Joe. I think he's more of a second tier. I mean, he's never going to be better than Justin Jefferson within the division. So is he going to be a dominant number one receiver? I don't know if I necessarily see that, but he's going to be a very good number one receiver, better than we've seen since probably like Brandon Marshall. And you got him under control for 3 years and he's really cheap. So I think overall, his situation might be one of the best number one situations, even if he doesn't produce like one.
I think you hit it out the park. We didn't mention that contract wise for 3 years of controllability. He's going to be your number one receiver. And I think he fits the bill. He has what you need. You know what I'm saying? Like his catch radius to be 6 feet is vast. I feel like, I don't know how well he high points. I think if there is a weakness, I feel like he could catch the ball all the way over here. Jumping, high pointing, I didn't see a ton of that. And I'm not saying he can't, but agility wise, I mean, it's off the charts. So just think about, mailbox, a phone box, you throw him the ball, small space, one juke move. I mean, he's going to make it look really well for Justin. Again, I think they could have gotten more, but I think getting a guy that you're not upset with him being the number one, where you like, man, for real? You know what I'm saying? Like right. that to me, because
making Devin Hester a number one.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother matter. But I put it like this, and I felt like, and his route tree is somewhat grown, but I felt like trading when people wanted to trade away assets to bring in DK Metcalf to sign him last year. He was a receiver. I felt like Bears fans in a couple of years would be like, he's straight, man, but man, we paying him too much. And I don't think you're going to get that from DK Metcalf with what he can do and how many different ways you can use him compared to a Metcalf who, just because of how he's built, there's some routes he can't get in and out of as smoothly or as quickly. So I think getting him for in this deal was good. And I do think he can be the Bears number one, and you won't be unhappy with it. But I still would wonder, what if, and could you have gotten a lot more that could have overcompensated for getting the receiver out of the way? But they desperately needed to get the receiver out of the way, and I got a really good one to do it too. It wasn't like Claypool, you know what I'm saying, where it's like they didn't want him. I don't think it was like, because even at this is last bit, even at the trade deadline, he was a player that people thought, like Christian McCaffrey and Chris Samuels, that was going to be gone. And they still held on to him because they probably didn't get what they thought they could get. And they knew that with him under that contract, it could be appealing because you're not just trading him and someone has to re-sign him. You're trading him with 3 years of control. So he was an asset to go along with perhaps with how they viewed what they were going to do in the offseason as far as going to get that quarterback that they so desperately needed since Cam Newton hurt his shoulder.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you guys in the sense that even if he's not, in that elite group of wide receivers, we're going to be happy with him even as a number one for the Bears. So especially for what he brings to the table. So, and I think that, not only that, but the wide receivers that are around them, like Claypool, like the Darnell Moonies, I think they'll help each other there and it'll be all positive overall. But I think that's a good place to wrap things up for this edition of War Media Bears Recap. And as Ken says, I'm sure we'll have another emergency pod over the next week because, the free agency is going to go crazy. I know the Bears have that, all that cap space, they'll make moves ASAP. So it's a positive, and we'll keep tabs. I want to thank Joe Tanksley and Ryan Bukovetsky, who you can also see on that Davis show with Ken Davis, as well as Ken Davis on the Under Center podcast, NBC Sports Chicago. So for Saul Rodriguez and everyone here, hope everyone has a great weekend.
Peace.